Okay, I think we have three past. I think we can start with our webinar. Welcome again to the RAIN Alliance webinar, Closing the Loop, and how RAIN powers circular fashion and smarter textile sorting. My name is Dr. Susanne Gut-Orlowski, and I'm here in my role of being the DPP specialist for the RAIN Alliance, and I will be leading through this webinar today. For those who are new to RAIN, RAIN is the passive ultra high frequency, so UHF RFID technology, and the RAIN Alliance is our consortium with a lot of partners and companies that have the joint goal to create a smarter and sustainable world by using RAIN technology and by connecting trillions of everyday items across their entire life cycle. The RAIN Alliance drives awareness and fosters market adoption of the RAIN technology, especially in the area of digital product passports, and supports the development of the RAIN technology. The RAIN Alliance and their members have certain benefits, such as the participation in the sustainability and digital product passports working groups. So we're joining forces there to jointly reach the goal of using RAIN technology as a DPP data carrier, for example. But we also share research, industry research with our members, hold educational sessions and webinars such as this one, and of course give a lot of networking opportunities and thus connect the industry members and end users. For more information about the RAIN Alliance, please visit www.therainalliance.org. And with this, let's start our interactive session today, exploring how cutting-edge technology is reshaping sustainability in fashion. My guest today is Anna Persson. She is head of circularity at TEXAID. TEXAID is a sorting and recycling company. Anna, I'm really delighted to have you in this RAIN Alliance webinar today. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
You're welcome. Anna, please shortly introduce TEXAID, yourself, and your role at TEXAID.
Yes, so my name is Anna Persson. I'm a textile engineer, and I had a background of material and product development before I started at TEXAID, where I developed all our work we are doing within R&D and new business models for circularity. And I'm leading the team today at TEXAID on these topics, and we have also had a lot of projects and ongoing projects on DPP. So I'm very happy to share insights and learnings here today with all of you. And for those of you who doesn't know TEXAID, I'm happy to introduce TEXAID as well. And I prepared some slides.
Yes.
Yeah. So TEXAID, we are a company. We were founded in the 70s, actually, in Switzerland by 6 aid organizations, which were doing street collection. And they noticed they got too much clothing actually coming to them, and they noticed the need of sorting infrastructure. So actually a bit similar where we are standing today. Back then, of course, it was all started with manual sorting, and now it's the shift to the digital and automized sorting world. And today we're a global solution provider for the collection, sorting, and preparation of used textiles and clothing for reuse and recycling. And we collect around 70,000 tons of textiles yearly. We're around 1,000 employees, and we work throughout several European countries. And as well, we have a small footprint also in the US. And something more, which is very interesting about our business model, is that we actually also operate our own secondhand stores throughout Germany, both physically and also online stores.
Anna, do you want to, or do you have a couple of words about the business model that you started with, and maybe how it changed or how it is today, or what additional business models you have there at TEXAID?
Yeah, so back then, of course, the need of sorting was very important because it was collected more goods than these charities could handle. And so everything was around, of course, the reuse of the goods. And throughout the last decades, we have been noting, of course, that with fast fashion, we're getting much more fast fashion goods and used goods that cannot go to reuse anymore. And especially from 1st of January this year, with a mandatory separate collection that came into place in Europe, or the European member states, we really also notice throughout now the first 4 months that we receive much more clothing that directly need to go to recycling. So we're really now in a shift where the industry is moving from this kind of social charity aspect to really waste management. And in order to handle all of these clothing that are right now out there on the market, of course, digitalize and automate systems will be needed to efficiently handle these textiles. And we also need really commercial textile to textile recycling industries that can then also recycle these goods, and really these post-consumer textile goods that we as TEXAID are handling.
Yes, thank you, Anna. And I think you've prepared another slide that shows us a little bit the process of what you're having today, and how textiles are sorted and in which categories you sort them today.
Yes, exactly. So for TEXAID, the journey where we start is really with the collection bins. So today we are not doing the street collection anymore. We have moved on to more efficient means of collection, which is through the bin collection, which you can find at different recycling areas, or through underground recycling bins, which you find closer to your home. And then also partially we also doing take backs with retailer and brands to really collect the goods at point of sale. And once the goods are collected, it comes to one of our sorting facilities where we actually today still sort these manually. And in Europe, we have the waste hierarchy to follow. So we sort the goods through looking at the condition and the quality, and to see, can actually these clothing be reworn, or are they so worn out and torn out that they need to go to recycling? And if they can be reused again, they go back to the secondhand market, where I mentioned also we have our own secondhand shops, but otherwise distribute this also to international markets. And then for the recycling, we sort it to some extent on different material categories into different recycling. And for this post-consumer textile waste, actually the commercial recycling that is viable and up and running is actually the downcycling. This means that you sort cotton products into our own fractions, where they are then cut into cleaning wipers later on. This is something we also do in-house. And then more blended material, they get shredded by these shredding machines into a fiber that normally is called shoddy. And from this shoddy fiber, it's very blended. It's like gray. You have different colors in it. You have long fibers, you have short fibers. So they are not so good quality for being respun into yarns. And so they are manufactured into different kind of isolation panels or painter's fleece and this kind of products. And now for the future, then also we of course want to enable the circular value chain here, where it then needs to go into the circular recycling. And here you need to sort on different criteria. So we are looking much into what are these criteria, what recyclers are out there, what can they recycle, how can that then influence the sorting, what kind of technologies are there that we can improve the sorting. And here, of course, the digital product passports and using RFID chips like RAIN can really enable the sorting, because we could get much more information about the material that is today lost. So actually, when we are doing the sorting, we see that around half of the goods, we don't have any care label anymore, or they washed out, so we cannot read them. And also the timing, you need to sort quite fast to be able to manage this amount of textiles. And yeah, you cannot find this information. And also on the care label, you only find a minor part of the information actually that the effort the brands put in when they made the goods.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, but before we go into the rain text, maybe can you let us know what clothing has the most value, or which clothing is coming most? What types of clothing do you have, and what brings actually the main benefits for TEXAID, but maybe also for other companies?
yeah, so the business model, how it looks like is, of course, that the goods with the most value are the ones that you can reuse and have a value on the secondhand market.
Okay,
And
so that's your repair flow here, right? Repair and re-commerce, and then consumer usage in the slide that you're showing at the moment.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It can also go directly, of course, to consumer usage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so this is the type of goods, and what we see the issue for that kind of business model we're in is that the reusable goods are decreasing and the recyclable goods are increasing
Mm-hmm.
with fast fashion and durability of clothing, the quality of clothing going down. And so, for instance, when I started at TextAid 9 years ago, we had around 65% reusable goods in the sorting mix, and today we
Mm-hmm.
have around 55%. So we see
Okay.
this decrease
What do you think
in
is the
this.
reason for that? Is that the different quality that is put into the clothing, or what could be the reason for that?
Yeah, it's really the quality of the goods
Mm-hmm.
that you can really notice that it's maybe trendy goods, but they are the elastane is maybe broken.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you know how it is when you have jeans with elastane, then of course. So we really see this kind of things, and maybe seams that are not well sewn, that the clothing open up the seams and this kind of goods. This is really an issue that we see, that this durability of the clothing is going down. And then the second part is also, of course, the blends. So we have a lot of blends in post-consumer textile waste, which
Mm-hmm.
also for recycling then makes it quite difficult. So for recycling, monomaterials or 1-2 fiber compositions would be much more preferable.
Mm-hmm. And that's probably something that you would want to find out by digital product passport in the future, right? So maybe let's cover the area a little bit of the practical challenges for sorting, and then seeing how rain chips can help addressing these challenges. So what challenges do you have today during the sorting process?
Yes, so what we have is, of course, that have so little information about the goods, and that the sorting will need to be quite fast. So we are in different projects, for instance, a Horizon 2020 project that's called CETOTAC, where we are now looking into how can actually have a digitalized sorting station that has different technologies, and also using DPP information
Mm-hmm.
to then so that the manual sorter can see this information within seconds, and that you then can get information such as material composition, maybe directly the brand name. Actually, this is quite interesting also, because there are so many brands out there. How can you then teach your operators on which brands are right now trendy, which brands
Mm-hmm.
come from which market? Is this a valuable brand or not? So this kind of information can be really important. Also, the
Mm-hmm.
value, the original value of the goods is very important.
Okay.
Maybe if you can have some trend aspects into this. I would love to give an example also here,
Yeah.
because the sorting is very,
And just
very.
just before you go there, don't forget it. But it's very interesting that you say that, because the original price and the trendiness of a certain brand is currently not in the focus of digital product passports, because that's the focus of sustainability. So that would be actually two additional attributes that you would love to see in this digital information. It's probably currently not there. So we already have examples of what additional information we would need, which would bring additional value apart from the regulated data that will come up.
Mm, yeah,
Very interesting.
yeah, and that's important to know. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, for instance, so the sorting is, of course, you as a person who sorts it has your vision and personal opinion. And sometimes, even though you're going through trainings and you're going through these programs that a sorter has or that we at as TEXAID has, of course, you always bring in your own personality also into it. And that's, of course, something we also appreciate. But for instance, if you're a younger person who is very trend sensitive, maybe a pair of jeans with holes in them, you will find them trendy to some extent. And then somebody maybe a bit older thinks, okay, no, this is actually waste. This is, they're broken. You cannot repair it. This needs to go to recycling. And if this was maybe €1,000 pants from some super expensive brands, then this kind of value is lost. So here the DPP can really play an important role of catching this value in the goods and really enabling the reuse.
And interestingly, so either we have that additional information, or if not, we definitely have the producer. And with that, we would have to connect additional semantic data or additional information to that brand to make that decision. So that's really an interesting aspect. How about the sorting capabilities? Maybe let's look into some challenges there where RAIN-TEX can help you for better sorting, faster sorting. Maybe you can give us one or two examples there.
Yeah, so for instance, also for the recycling side, this could be really important that you have all the material information. So NIR technology today, which we are looking into, can this enable sorting for recycling? And then the NIR technology right now, at least my understanding is that it can only see the surface of the material, what it is. So if you have a elastane that is maybe correspond into a yarn, then it will not be able to detect it. Or if it's too many different fiber type, it can also start getting tricky. Or with linings. And so here the DPP can really also give valuable information. And also on the chemical content, which is something that the NIR technology is not able to see. So that's also for the recyclers, especially mechanical recycling processes, very important, since of course you want to produce new clothing that are in line with the regulations in place today with REACH and all these RSL lists and so.
At the beginning, you mentioned that sometimes labels are no longer there or washed out. So how can RAIN-TEX help there to improve the quality of the information that you get at the point of sorting?
Yeah, so in the tests we have been doing, we also had projects with circular fashion, with data Mars, and also Every Denizen. And what we see is really, yeah, the RFID technology can really bring the added value here, because you can then have the tag in the clothing, and then you can within seconds retrieve the information. So then for instance, all of this information that is maybe lost when a care label is cut out, this you could still have enabled in the clothing. And of course, there are a lot of aspects here, as you already mentioned, which information will be on it, which information will go to the right stakeholder. This is very important aspects to it, of course. But yeah, for a textile sorter, this could really enable that we get more information, of course, the information that is relevant for us, such as material type, such as maybe chemical contents, brand, price, but also product category, gender, and size is very interesting also to know about the clothing.
So thank you for that. And I think what you're also using is the mass reading capabilities of RAIN-TEX, or reading a lot of text at the same time. So being able to sort faster due to the mass reading that you can do with RAIN-TEX. That's something that simply makes the sorting more efficient, as I understand. as we're preparing for the eco design for sustainable product information, we have, so maybe give us an idea of the information that you have today with the regular labels and that you will have in the future with the DPP, although the vocabulary is not clear yet, but maybe give us an idea of the difference of information that you have today and tomorrow. Do you have an idea of how the difference looks like?
Yes, so quite simple said, actually the information we have is very limited. It's just the visual information that we have when a sorter looks into the goods. And of course, in some parts of the sorting process, like in the preparation for the stores, we have much more possibilities to check than the brands, the material composition, and so on. But in the general sorting, it's you have the visual of or the hand feel also of the material. And
Okay.
with the DPP, you can get so much more information that can be used throughout the whole value chain here, for to repairs where you get the repair manual, maybe to re-commerce options to really resell goods, but also, yeah, starting at collection. As you mentioned, you can do a lot of high frequency of a lot batch. That could be very interesting. Also sending out goods to recyclers to make sure that there is nothing contaminated into that batch could be really interesting to look into. Yes.
So that's also a little bit of your wish list already for the DPP, or is there more that you would like to have in the DPP first to make your operations as efficient as possible, and maybe second also, increase the value of your services in the business?
And I think the aspects I mentioned are the most relevant for us or our understanding for the sorting industry. What we of course need as the sorting industry, if I can take that hat on, and not only for TEXAID, is of course that
Sure.
we need RFID sorting, and we also see the trend with the DPP that it's going into the QR code direction. And I think QR code direction could be very interesting for the consumer side, the consumer interface. But for the sorting interface, we really need something that is highly efficient, goes within seconds or milliseconds. Otherwise, we will never be able to reach the efficiency we need to actually collect and sort all of these textile waste that we have today.
Yes, thank you, Anna. I'm sure you can take that position. Let's talk a little bit about the what you do then with the textiles that you have sorted with regards to certification. So if you're giving out the textiles to a second life or to any other use, you would probably want to add information to it as well as a recycler, but you also are interested in certificates that come with the digital product passport. And I think you've prepared another a slide for that that we could discuss. Why don't you give us an idea of how this looks like using certificates, but also issuing certificates for the textiles?
Yeah. So maybe to just start with saying, so TEXAID is ISO 9001 certified, and we're also ISO 14001 certified in Switzerland and ISO 50001 certified in Germany. And we see that, of course, with the recycling feedstock, there's opportunity to get certified here, of course, in the area of that delivering feedstock. But also for instance, when you resell a goods, if something has a Oekotex standard or is a bio cotton or has already maybe recycled cashmere or some other aspects that is very important to know about, this information as is not most likely to be also on the care label. So this information, something we don't see today at all as a sorter and don't receive. And this could bring added value, especially for reselling the goods, to know that what clothing this is and what maybe certification and value is already put into that clothing. but then also for the recycling side could be very interested if there are special requests on chemical content or bio-cotton recycling programs, etc. This could really be interesting in that area.
Absolutely. So I could imagine that if you give out a digital product passport yourself to textiles, because it's now a recycled or reused textile, then you could probably add your ISO certifications there for your own company, and then for the textiles, maybe the percentage of the recycled content or the like. So I think these certifications also play a big role when reading the DPP, but also then when issuing a DPP yourself for the recycled goods. Maybe can you explain to us what markets you have for the recycled goods, maybe what you have today or what you envisage will be coming up in the future, and why these markets are arising.
Yes, I would be happy. I go back to the old slide so we can really look into that. So today, the commercially available technique for this post-consumer textile waste is still the liner recycling or downcycling. So with the cotton that goes into cleaning wiper production or this shoddy. And how we see it for the future is, of course, that with optimized sorting, that you can sort on much more attributes for the recycling, that you can then enable the feedstock to go to textile recycling. So we really envision the red dots are where TEXAID is today. Operating, we're doing trials here with partners for circular recycling and also pre-processing, but then that the goods really go into the value chain again is something that we envision for the future. We see ourselves as somebody who will deliver this sorted raw material into these new value chains that are being established. And of course, aspects then also for the new clothing that are produced is, of course, all these design aspects coming in the ESPR, like also design for durability, just to enable this different loop of the clothing, but then also design with recycling in mind or design with recycled feedstock, just to create this push-pull effect throughout the value chain, which will also be very important to enable this. Because what we see today, it's really in pilot programs in smaller batches, but not commercially for the large batch of post-consumer textile waste.
Yes, thank you. And which of these activities are actually related to the new regulation that you mentioned, which came into force on January 1st? Can you tell us a little bit about that regulation and how it impacts your work?
Yes, so 1st of January, all the EU member states had to introduce a separate mandatory collection of textile waste. And today, until then, until end of last year, it was voluntary. It was based on, of course, these collecting more reusable goods. And now the collection system also needs to collect all the waste. And the obligation of that is currently at the municipalities. And for them to introduce a separate collection system. And what we see until now, we're 4 months in, it's still much of unclarity on the market. We see that a lot of much more, we see unclarity for municipalities, we see unclarity for companies like us, we see unclarity also for consumers who doesn't know where to actually give these goods away. And then at the same time, we have the discussion of the extended producer responsibility, the EPR, which will then also bring new regulations into place, where maybe the obligation will actually lie on the brands instead of the municipalities. So yeah, there's a lot of unclarity still, unfortunately. But we see that there's a lot of work now ongoing to clarify this also. But what we really need is of course, commercial recycling streams where we can really take all of this textile waste back into the value chain also.
Absolutely. And it seems there's other regulations where the digital product passport could actually also help the consumer or help companies to understand where they would have to collect those textiles, where to bring them, and how to process them further. So it seems that those requirements probably go into the digital product passport and the required attributes for textiles. At least it sounds as if that would make sense to cover the challenges that you just mentioned. You had one more slide that you wanted to share with us, Anna, please.
Yeah, as a last note, this is my last slide, is of course we're engaging, especially on the legislation side, also in different organizations. So we are a member of the Bureau of International Recycling, where our CEO is also the president of the textile division. We're a member of Zurich Textiles, and we're also a member of a German association for collection and sorting industries. And we're engaging in different organizations and projects throughout Europe, really tackling these topics of circularity. Yeah, so there are a lot of initiatives ongoing and a lot of different projects, but what we need is, of course, commercial scale now. And yeah, some interesting aspects of also, of course, rehubs in Europe or accelerating circularity, who is really trying to enable this. And then also organization like Textile Exchange and the Sustainable Textiles Switzerland, or Textile Business in Germany, that are really working also on sustainable and circular textiles, which is really important that we have sustainable products come to market, which is also produced in a fair way with circular materials in them.
Okay, thank you for all these inputs so far. Do you have some last statement, what you believe is the most important thing to share with our audience today before we go into the questions?
Yeah, I think the DPPs and the RAIN technology can really bring benefits to the collection, sorting, and recycling side. What you mentioned, of course, on the what data will come onto the products and when will it be rolled out, and what products will be targeted when it's rolling out. This is all important aspects to discuss further on. And I think it's important that all different stakeholders' opinions are heard. But yeah, for the collection sorting infrastructure, this can bring a lot of benefits on the information that you can gain, on efficiencies, on automation and digitalization, and as well on transparency of these goods that today at end of life is lost.
Absolutely, a very nice statement. So thank you. We're closing the official presentation part of this webinar, and we're looking forward to receiving your questions now. You can either use the F and
Q&A.
Q&A, it says F&A here, but maybe that's because it's the German version of my Zoom. So the Q&A tool of Zoom to pose your questions. If that's not working, I had this one time, then you can also simply use chat to place your questions. So please write them either in the chat or in the Q&A now. We do have one question already in the Q&A, which I'm going to read out. Are you currently using tags from one supplier, or can you use tags that are already in the garments, or are just testing the RAIN RFID as an option, or are you just testing RAIN RFID as an option? So maybe you can give us more insights there.
Yeah, happy to answer this. So actually, TEXAID, we are not producing goods, so we don't put any tags into the sorted goods. We have done one pilot where we did a bag with 100% recycled feedstock and a European supply chain, which we then put to market in our secondhand stores. So here we had a tag into those clothing from one supplier for that for that special need. And we did the trial together with Circular Fashion also. So we also set up a sorting infrastructure in our German sorting facility, which is still there and can be used and tested, to really showcase the value chain. And here we can really sort with these tags again. I would say for the future, we need a system, of course, which can enable, as I said, the value chain to work with it. And I know the DPP working groups and the Surpass projects and these topics that you work on, Susanne, they are looking into all of these aspects and how that can be handled.
Yes, exactly. And I guess also an important aspect of this is that you can actually use tags from different manufacturers and that we need standardization there. There are already standards available in the area of what information is on a RAIN tag. For example, how a GTIN is encoded exactly on the RAIN tag. That should always be the same. That's already standardized today, but we also have more identifiers that are allowed for digital product passport, very likely, when the standards are ready. So we would probably need some more standardization work there to make sure that you, as a textile sorter, can read the tags in a standardized way and then process the information in a standardized way. And that's something that's currently ongoing. For some parts it's already standardized, but maybe for other parts it's not. So I think there's still some work coming towards us to make sure this is standardized. Yeah, so that reading is really efficient for you, because you're getting textiles from different brands with different tags and maybe even different identifiers on them.
Yeah, exactly. And I can mention just quickly also, we work with Avery Dennison to also look into this. And also we have a project in Switzerland with Data Mars on the workwear area. So we're looking into different areas of this and how that can be enabled also from a sorting perspective.
Excellent. I do have a question here from Kurt Bishop. Thank you, Kurt, for sending this question in. Are you seeing any help or changes from brands and retailers to make fashion products more easy to recycle today?
Yeah, we see initiatives, and we see, of course, now with the ESPR in Europe that the brands are legally obliged to actually take action for this. Of course, a collector sorter receives the goods between 1 year to 5 years from a goods is produced and put to market. So of course this delay will be there, but then of course also we get goods that are 30 years old or 50 years old. So we get a very large spectrum of goods.
Yeah. And we already see a few members of the RAIN Alliance are already putting RAIN tags in textiles. Decathlon, C&A, and other members are already going down this route. So they're already doing something in this area. So I believe this is coming up. I have a next question from Vikram. Could you please clarify where exactly RAIN RFID is being introduced in the supply chain during product sale or during recycling? Additionally, what level of information granularity is being captured, and up to which point in the process is it being monitored? Is this applied to all clothing items or only to specific ones? Do you want to respond something to this?
Maybe you are the person with the most insights on this, maybe.
Yeah,
sorry for playing it back.
No problem. It's difficult to read and answer and manage everything at the same time, but I'll try. So the granularity that's being captured is not clarified yet. This will come with the delegated acts on textiles, where we'll be finding out if it's on the granularity of a model or on a serialized item. So that's not clear yet, and it will come with the delegated act. And it's I assume it will be applied to all clothing items and not just to specific ones, so all textiles, and even a car seat, textile is a textile. So you will see that there as well, not only for clothing. Yeah, so I think that's probably mostly answered with this. Let's look at the next question from Philippe Moga. As an engineer, I'm interested in technical topics. So my question, can you give us some details on your sorting plant deciding the future of the devices?
Yes, so I'm happy to answer this question. So we're right now we are having different projects looking into different solution. Of course, we are in different organizations, as you saw, thinking about how the supply chain looks like, understanding the further supply chain than only TEXAID. How can we enable this? And 2 years ago, we did a large technology assessment of different technologies for sorting for reuse and for sorting for recycling. And we commissioned 2 research institutes in Europe to do this with us. So it was the German University AWT Aachen and their Textile Institute, and an institute in France, CETIA, looking into sorting automations. So we actually captured a lot there to understand what the possibilities are and the challenges, more from the process side, less maybe on actually the different suppliers. And you can find this report on our website, Technology Assessment. You can download it and read it. But yeah, from there on, of course, we are now working on this in the background to understand how can this actually be enabled.
And to add a note from the RAIN Alliance, there also will be RAIN reading capabilities in mobile phones, which probably makes it also easier and cheaper to have a RAIN reading device. You find an announcement about that from the RAIN Alliance and Qualcomm on the RAIN Alliance website under publications. Okay, we have a next question. What kind of RFID application would help in the sorting process? In most of the cases, the labels are missing when the garments reach the sorting center. Is the embedded in the garment RFID solution an answer? So I guess tag.
Yeah, I would answer this positively.
Okay.
Yes. So for us, of course, an embedded RFID solution would bring the most benefits. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. And here's another question from Vikram again. Are there any environmental consideration, e.g. electronic waste or recyclability and cost implications associated with implementing RFID tagging across all clothing items? Have you looked into that question?
A little bit. We looked into it, especially when we did this bag and put that to market. So we in Germany, it was on the German market, so we had to register ourselves to a specific organization handling electronic waste, and we have to do a yearly reporting here. I actually assume that this is a bit unclear still, maybe for further markets or Europe as a whole, how this actually will be handled and how extra costs and other administrative aspects that will be handled with this. From there on, I don't have the full details on this, how that will look like.
With my RAIN Alliance head on, I can recommend to come to our e-waste working groups, which we have in the RAIN Alliance, where we are discussing the requirements and the recyclability and electronic waste topic, and understand the requirements for the tags, for the embedding and so forth. So I can only recommend to join us and get those questions answered in the working groups that we're offering. I have another question here. When you used RFID for sortation, what were the challenges with the tags? Do you have to add any additional setup today so that the tags can be read efficiently? And do you expect the
The issue.
issues to be solved in the future?
Yeah, of course, you have to look at the process of the sorting. Where does it make sense and how do you implement it? Also, one aspect is, of course, the sorting infrastructure has a lot of metal. So you have to think about the metal in the sorting infrastructure and all the conveyor belts and so on.
Yes.
Where does it make sense? But I would say that these challenges is quite reachable, and you can easily find adaptations and ideas on how to solve those. I don't see them as a big hurdle.
Okay, interesting. Then, based on your experience, would you say that digital labels like RFID or rain tags are more durable than traditional care labels?
I know that there are companies out there right now doing a lot of wash tests with RFID to see how durable they are or not durable. So I think maybe there will come some interesting inputs here from other companies within the next time. So happy to also learn more myself about the durability of the RFID. Maybe you, Susanne, have some insights on this.
Yes, actually, the durability of rain tags is usually much higher than those of, printed care labels. We also see that they're very robust in very harsh environments, such also as in the tire industry. So and tires are one of the product segments that are coming up for the ESPR. Tire manufacturers definitely have decided, all big tire manufacturers, to use rain tags in tires because of the robustness of rain tags. So we are expecting those to be more robust than your washable care labels. I have another last question here from Renaud Monnier. Many different articles are pointing that retail textiles are full of dangerous chemical products. What impact will that have on your recycling operation?
Yes. So one challenge this our industry here is facing is that we collect goods that are also old or maybe imported and not, of course, monitored or audited within the REACH legislation, or that other aspects have higher requirements than the REACH legislation. So when you put a garment back to market, when you are then using recycled feedstock, the brands, of course, are held liable that their products are made according in Europe then with the REACH legislations or other certifications that they put onto the products. So this is very important that we track and monitor this. There are a lot of initiatives that I know of that are looking into this now also. But yeah, it's a bit tricky question on how do you actually do the sampling for this chemical testing. And chemical testing, as most of us know, it's in a laboratory. It costs quite much money. It takes its time. So also, if you have a product, how do you know which test you should do on it? But yeah, we have a lot of there was I mean, I've seen a lot of products and initiatives working on this. And we also need much more work and new technologies to handle this. So, but yeah, I cannot, yeah, we will still see what the impact is and how maybe the legislation will decide how to handle this topic. I can
I could also
assume.
imagine, I could also imagine that the digital product passport will ask for such a certificate, making sure that there are no dangerous chemicals in textiles before they go to the European market. So if you're importing textiles from non-EU markets and want to bring them on the market, or maybe from inside the EU as well, it probably would have to have a certification to show that it's conformant to EU regulations with regards to chemicals that are allowed in textiles, and that probably by the digital product passport and checking it, you can actually check if those certifications with those lab tests are available. And through the digital product passports, these certificates are also being made verifiable, making sure that they're trustworthy. And I believe that's one of the features that we will be having through the digital product passport, and that we see as a requirement coming up in the delegated text for textiles.
Yeah, this would help and support a lot for the recycling operations.
Yeah. All right, so this was our last question. I think there were wonderful questions. Thank you for all the participants for coming, for listening to us. Thank you for your time. And we're looking forward to seeing you again in one of our next webinars. I would like to thank Anna for the great preparation of the information that you shared with us, and all the insights that you gave us from your sorting processes. So thank you again, Anna. Thank you, TEXAID, and thank you to all the participants. See you again next time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for listening in, and thank you, Susanne, for doing a great job on the moderation.
Thank you.